Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Brass Monkey X. So in today's video, we're gonna get all these plastics squared away and back on the bike, and I'm finally gonna be done messing around with all the plastics for this thing. So let me show you where we're at. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos, I encourage you guys go back and take a look so you know what we're actually doing here. But let me just show you where we're at for today. So this side panel here, I realized it was missing a couple of screws in it. Now this panel, it's on the left side of the bike. This actually covers up your air filter. And there was only 2 factory screws in this thing, and I never realized that. All I had was this screw here and this one down here. So I went into the back of my garage which at this point, it basically looks like aisle 17 of Home Depot. Like I have so much spare hardware, nuts, bolts, screws, all kinds of shit laying around that I had no problem finding 3 screws that worked for this thing. So I found a screw for here, here, and here. These 2 were a little bit longer. That one was shorter. I did have to use a washer on that too, because that screw was a little bit thinner, the head of it. So either way, it doesn't really matter. Either way, I had the screws laying around. I fixed that. Now that's nice and tight. That's not going anywhere. I just have to make sure that when I put together a toolkit for this thing, that I have an extensive toolkit, because I Frankenstein the shit out of this bike so far, and I pretty much just started working on it. So I'm gonna need all kinds of tools in my toolkit for this thing. Then the fairings, they're gonna go back on. I finally figured out what I was gonna do with the grommets. If you go back to my last video, I showed you I had 3 different size grommets. I didn't know what to use. I ended up using that one grommet that I had that was original to the bike that was still good. I put that one back on down here. And then I tried to use those smaller grommets because they fit on the bike nicely. Like they popped right in. But when I tried to put the fairings on, they just were not clipping in. It wasn't happening. So I had to go with these larger oval-shaped grommets. Now they were a bear to get in there. The first one I tried, I ended up ripping the damn thing. Because it's stupid me, I took a flathead screwdriver and I just kind of started shoving on it, trying to get it down in the hole, and it just ripped right through it. So the next ones, I went nice and slow. I worked them in real easy. I used my a pair of needle nose pliers, and I kind of used like the side of the pliers to shove it in. And it took honestly, it took a good 2-3 minutes to get each one in the hole. They were really tight, but once they were in there, they were good. I put the fairings on earlier, and they snapped right into place. They hold them perfectly. They're not going anywhere. So I got those grommets squared away. We're good to go now. And then another small issue that I had was this right here. That is where the fairing, there's 2 screws in each fairing, along with the plugs for the grommets. On this side, it screws in over here and right here. But the problem was, there was nothing here to screw it to. Like if you look at the other side, this side, it has like a grommet with a nut attached to it, and it's all like held in there. And this side over here was missing that. So what I did was, again, I went to my hardware store in the back there, in the back of my garage, and I found a nut that fit real snug in that hole. And I simply used this stuff here. I found this at the dollar store. It's Super Glue brand 5-minute quick setting epoxy. I figured I didn't want to waste like a whole thing of like JB Weld just to put that tiny little nut in there. So I used these. I stocked up on these when I saw them at the dollar store. I bought a whole bunch of them. I said, I'll probably need to use these at some point in time. So it actually worked out really well. I just mixed up the epoxy, rubbed it all over this nut here. I left the bolt on it so that it wouldn't get in the threads. And I just kind of held it there for a few minutes until it started to get tacky. And then I took the bolt back out, the nut stayed in place, I let it harden overnight, and it's perfect. It's exactly what I needed to fix that. So I got that squared away. Now the last thing I have to do is over on my workbench there, I have to drill a couple of holes in the front of the fairings and in the cowl so that once they're attached to the bike, I can properly attach them together. Because there was, again, if you saw my previous videos, there's no way I can repair the broken plastic that attaches the two pieces together. So I'm going to have to drill some holes and zip tie it. But we'll go over to the workbench. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, guys. So we're at the workbench. And once I get the fairings and the cowl on the bike, this is how they made up to each other. There's those little flanges there that hold them together. Okay. This is what it looks like from the outside. They're supposed to be nice and tight to each other, that joint there. The problem is, right down there, you can see the plastic on the fairing. Right there. That actually snapped off. So there's no way to attach the fairing to the cowl down there. Then I believe up here, these flanges here, I believe they were supposed to connect to something as well. But once I get them on the bike, I don't see where they would connect. I assume it was those plastic pieces that went where my blinkers were, that were all gnarly and messed up, because those were all cracked and broken too. I assume those may have connected to here and here. I'm not quite sure though. Like I said, those were like destroyed, so I trashed those. Those are in the garbage. So what I'm going to do is, down here, since the cowl already has holes, I'm gonna drill some holes in the fairing. I don't know where yet. Somewhere down at the bottom there, next to those holes for the cowl. Maybe in that corner there. I don't know. I gotta brainstorm it and figure it out. But I gotta drill some holes in the fairing, hopefully without cracking it. I'm gonna go nice and slow. I'm probably gonna use my drill press for it. I'm gonna set the speed on the motor really slow so I don't crack anything. And then I'm thinking up towards the top here, I may put another zip tie up top. I don't know if I want to attempt that. It's like I don't want to keep putting a bunch of holes in here, especially if this plastic is brittle and tough to drill through. But I may just drill a hole in the cowl and on the fairing here. That way I can zip tie the top too. I don't know. Like I said, I got to brainstorm it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get it all drilled, and then I'll show you guys what I decided to do. So hang in there, guys. All right, guys, so check it out. This is what I did. I drilled the fairings. I drilled holes down at the bottom there. One hole on each side. One there and one there. That way it can connect to the existing hole in the cowl at the bottom. I drilled it far enough back where I got enough meat where it's going to be a decent, connection there. Nothing's going to crack. It should be fine. So that should hold pretty well. And those are in a good location where from the outside of the bike, you can't even really tell there's a hole at the bottom there. And then up at the top, to shore that up, what I did was I drilled a hole in the cowl and then a hole in the fairing underneath here. And as you can see, I reamed it out a little bit so I can get my zip tie in. But I wanted to put it further up to keep that nice and tight. But the problem is there's not enough meat there on the plastic. And I was scared to crack it. And then with the vibrations of the bike and bouncing up and down, because I am going to be taking this thing off-road, I didn't want to end up cracking the plastics. So I went further down where there was a little more meat to catch. So I did that on both sides, the left and the right. Sorry, I can't really get in here to show you. There we go. Like I said, I'm just going to zip tie those together. And they should be good to go once they're on the bike. I mean, they are a little noticeable, and you're going to see a zip tie there. But honestly, I don't care, man. This isn't like a brand new Ducati or anything. It's a 35-year-old dirt bike that I'm going to beat the shit out of. So I really don't care if there's a couple little holes in the sides there. Not a big deal. But that's where we're at. Now to do this, I didn't use my drill press like I originally intended. I wasn't digging that thing out just to make a couple of holes. So I just used my my cordless drill. I started with an 1/8 inch bit Went real slow to make sure I didn't crack anything. Once I had that 1/8 inch hole in there, I came in with a little bit of a bigger bit. I think this is a 5/32. So I drilled in with that one, and then I reamed it out just enough so that my zip ties will fit in the hole. Let me try and show you without knocking everything over. But everything's gonna fall. I'm not even gonna mess with it. It's too precarious sitting up here. Either way, I reamed it out so that the zip ties will fit in there. But let me go get everything put on the bike, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when I'm all done. Alright guys, so check it out. The plastics are mounted, and they are on there solid. They aren't going anywhere. Everything is real tight. It's on there real nice. So, again, everything is Frankenstein together. I got different screws holding this thing together on all sides. But, you know, I had to make do with what I had, man. When you're dealing with a 35-year-old bike like this, you know, you do what you got to do. But what I did was, if you're going to get into something like this, you want to put the cowl on first. It's a lot easier to mate everything up together if the cowl's on first. So you put the cowl on, snap it in place, and then you tighten it up right down there. Here and here. You just tighten that up. And then you go ahead and put your sides on. Now when I did the sides, I started towards the rear of the bike, over here. So I put that screw in first, popped the grommets in, and then moved on to the screw on this side. And then I came up here and I zip tied the cowl to the fairings. I did that on both sides. Again, over here I started in the rear. It just went on a lot easier that way. I tried it from the front first and it didn't work out very well. Let's start in the rear, work your way forward. You put in the screw then in the back. You pop your 2 grommets in. You put this screw in. And then I zip tied everything together up there. And honestly, it doesn't look that bad. Especially from far away, you can't even really tell. Once I get these plastics painted up, because I plan on, that's the ultimate goal here, is to get these sanded down. I want to take all the graphics off, repaint everything, make it look real nice. But once I get that all done, I mean, you're not going to see that little bit of white in there. You're never going to notice that. Especially from far away. I mean, from back here, unless you're looking for it, you have no clue that those are zip tied together. And they held so well. Everything is together so good. Like, it's tight, man. It's not rattling around anywhere. I have no worries about it rattling loose while I'm riding now. Like, when I bought this thing and I was riding it home, everything was just bouncing all over the place. Every bump I hit, I thought the thing was going to rattle apart. It was ridiculous. But now it's nice and solid. We're good to go. So that is priority number 2 out of 3 is all done. So we put a done stamp on those turn signals. They're ready to go. Now we got a done stamp on the plastics, also ready to go. So, I mean, it's roadworthy at this point. I have no quarrels with taking this thing out on the road. I actually plan on doing that. I hate the tires on here, but they are road tires. I'm going to be taking it out on the street. I will not be taking it off-road yet, because priority number 3, if you haven't seen my other videos, is to get some 50/50 tires on here. So I already have the tires picked out. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break from the bike, because I need to save up for the tires, and B, honestly, I'm getting a little burnt out from the bike. I'm getting sick of looking at the freaking thing. So, I mean, I'm going to take a little bit of a break, but when I do come back, I'm going to get those 50/50 tires put on there. I figure while I have the tires off, once that rear tire's off of there, I might as well do that rear sprocket. It's cheap enough. I might as well change it out. I'm going to change the front sprocket as well, do the chain. I'm not changing the gearing. I'm going to leave the gearing the same, because I'm not familiar enough with the bike yet. I want to get it off-road and see how it performs, how it handles. If I feel like I need a little more torque, I'll change the gearing. You know, if I want a little more speed, because if I decide I want a little more street-oriented, then maybe I'll change the gearing for that as well. I don't know. I gotta get a little more familiar with the bike and figure it out. But for now, I'm gonna get, like I said, I'll get new sprockets, but I'm not changing the gearing on it at all. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's it for this video. I got everything buttoned up. We're good to go. Except for one more thing. A while back, a couple videos back, I did a survey on YouTube. I told you guys I was going to be naming the bike. I can't not name the bike. And I put a survey up. I don't know if you guys participated in it or not. I also put something on Instagram. If you guys aren't subscribed to my Instagram, maybe you should go over there, subscribe. I put a lot of cool stuff up on there. But I did name the bike, and I told you guys I would reveal it in a later video. So here it is, guys. We are calling it the Dirty Smurf. So in case you guys didn't see the post that I put up about it, we're naming it the Dirty Smurf because, well, obviously, it's blue. It's a dirt bike. It came from the 80s. The Smurfs came from the 80s. I'm a product of the 80s. I figured, what the hell, why not? I thought it was kind of funny. So we're naming it the Dirty Smurf. And if you're wondering what that other thing is on there, the Sick Boy, I put that on my other motorcycle too. That's kind of it's just a nod back to my my teenage years when I thought I was a badass punk with my spiky hair and different colored hair all the time, and I was always listening to punk music. If you guys know who did it, post it down below. You'll get some bonus points if you know who did that song, who originally did it. My favorite version of it is done by one of my favorite bands, MXPX, actually. And fun fact, a while back, I actually got MXPX to propose to my wife for me in New York City, out in front of BB King's after a concert. One of the greatest nights of my life, guys. It was so cool. I got to meet one of my favorite bands ever, and I actually had them propose to my wife for me. So awesome. But I digress. That's enough about the my punk rock history. You guys don't want to hear about that. So I guess that's it for this video, guys. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you next time.